Okay, so I'm going to work out a problem here that one of my students in one of my finance classes emailed me about. And I understand why he was having problems with it, because the problem's a little bit vague on where the payments are occurring. So a lot of times when that happens, it's really good to draw a cash flow diagram on Excel, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And also I'm going to show you the power of net present value, where it can solve what appears to be a fairly complicated problem with just a few keystrokes, as long as you understand how a net present value works. So let's just get right into it here. 3 years from now, you'll begin receiving annual payments of $7,200. So this is an annuity, but it's an annuity that doesn't start right away. It starts in 3 years. This will continue for 14 years at a discount rate of 5.8%. What is the present value? So we're saying I'm going to be getting $7,200 starting exactly 3 years from today. That's going to continue for 14 years. And I want to know what's that worth to me? How much would I pay for this if I could earn 5.8% on my money somewhere else, or if I require 5.8% on my investment? All right. So let's go ahead and put this in here. And like I say, I'm just going to do a cash flow diagram, because that seems like that would be a good idea for this problem, just to kind of look at it. So to do a cash flow diagram, I'm going to go to the Home tab in the font group, and I'm going to go down here. It says Draw Borders. But I want the line style to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to pick this thick style. And let's just go ahead and we'll go 1, 2, 3. So 3 years from now, I'm getting a cash flow, so I'm going to have the arrow point up. Now some cash flow diagrams in some textbook, they just use positive or negative numbers. When I draw a cash flow diagram, I'm a little bit old school. I have pointing up means that I'm getting the money, and pointing down means I'm spending the money. All right, so the first year I get this, and it continues for 14 years. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we have we want to know how much you're going to pay, and then we're getting these cash flows. It says we're getting these annual payments, and so we're getting annual payments along here. This may seem tedious, but it's actually worth it. Okay, so that's 14 payments. If you count it, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 payments. Now, the question is that this problem is vague about is, well, this is 14 years. Does this payment happen? Okay, I'm going to hit Control Z to make it go away. All right, and this problem is not clear about that. Now, I happen to know the answer to the textbook, that the textbook means this. But in real life, you would ask, are you talking about getting a payment here or not? Because that makes a difference, right? So you would have to ask. But when you're solving a problem in a textbook, you don't really have you can't ask, right, if it's on a test or that. So I'm going to assume that it's just going to be 14 payments, not this payment right here at the end. All right, because I just know that's what the textbook has. That's how the textbook, the solution is this. Okay, now if I would be doing it without knowing that, I probably would have added that last payment. Anyway, let's put the time period in here, 2, 3. Now remember, in Excel, you just highlight highlight two numbers, and Excel will get the idea, and we can populate the rest of these. Now if I would have put 2, 4 and highlighted it, it went by 2s, right? All right, so let's go ahead and put the money in here. I'm going to put it right here behind it, 7,200, and then let's just make these a little bit bigger so that 7,200 shows up. There we go. And I'm going to drag that across. All right. So that's what we're given, and we're also given our discount rate. So we require 5.8% return annually. And this present value, we don't know that. In fact, that's what we want to find. We want to find what this thing is worth. So I always like to do my problems in given, find, and solution, because it just kind of helps clarify things. It's an old engineering thing that I learned, kind of old school. So for the solution, So for the solution, I'm going to do it doing the long way first, because that's actually a little bit easier to understand, and then I'm going to do it using the net present value function in Excel. And the net present value function is very easy as long as you do it correctly and understand how a net present value works, and we'll go into that. And we want the present value of the cash flow. So we'll go each period, so I'm going to go 0, 1, and again I'm going to copy this down. And our last payment's on the 16th period, at the end of the 16th, at the beginning of the 17th. And our cash flows, the way to do the cash flows is very easy. I can just copy these, and I can right click and go copy, and then here I can go paste, transfer. Alright, so now I'm going to find the present value. So these are end of period, right? End of period 1, end of period 2, end of period 3. That's why I put that here at the end of period 3. Alright, so you got to make sure these are in the right spot. And so I'm going to go equals present value, and the rate is 5.8%. Now, I'm going to copy this down, so I could type dollar signs in front of this G and this 9 manually, but the quick way to do it is hit F4. And then the number of periods is this. Now I want that to move when I copy it down, so I won't put dollar signs. This I want it always to stay on that, because I want this for every one of these cash flows. I'm going to find the present value of each one of these cash flows. Well, I want it to use that percent. So when I copy it down, I don't want it to move. When I copy the formula down, I want it to move to the first, second, in this whole period. And this isn't a payment in this contest. It's considered a future value. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm just going to hit enter. And then I can copy this down. Let me make this wider so I can see the number. And then all we have to do is sum it, auto sum, make it wider again so I can see the answer. Yeah, so the present value of that, I would have to pay, that's why it's negative, right? I would have to pay that much money in order to buy those cash streams. Okay? And so that's a long way to do it. And sometimes the problem is best to do it the long way. You're going to have less chances of having a mistake, right? So the short way to do it, so I'll do it right here, the NPV, well, I'll do it below. The NPV solution well, the present value is going to be equal to, we're going to use the net present value function, and all we're going to do is we're simply going to click, put on the rate, and then it wants value 1, so it's asking for the value at the end of period 1. So that's the trick with using NPV. It always assumes, it doesn't assume you're starting at 0, it doesn't assume you're starting here, it assumes you're starting at the end of period 1. There's $0 there, but it assumes that. So there's only 2 0 cash flows, and then it starts. So you're going to start here. So NPV always assumes you start with period 1. And what did we do wrong? Control Z. Let me try to equals NPV. I don't know. Let me just check it here. So rate. Can you guess? Did you figure out what I did wrong? And now I just figured out I was using the present. I was taking the present value of present. I want to take present value of these, right? I already calculated something here. I want to take the present value of these, and it's the same answer. All right. Now, NPV is positive in this case. Well, that's just the way NPV works. It doesn't flip the sign the way when we did it this way. All right. So this is the number is the same, right? So this one's very quick, but always remember, when you use NPV, you always start at the end of period 1, because you already have the present value. If there was a cash flow here at time 0, the present value is already there. So NPV, I wish actually NPV started with time 0, because because a lot of students make mistakes because they just highlight all the cash flows automatically, not remembering that NPV always uses the cash flow at the end of period 1. So anyway, that's the way you do it. Now, like I say, if I was didn't know the answer to the problem, I probably would have included this cash flow. So you would include another cash flow down over here. If you're going to do it that way, you would include a cash flow here, right? And you do the same thing. It would just be one more cash flow at the end. So it'd be a period 17 and then 7,200. But this is what the book wanted for an answer. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Hopefully you understand the power of a cash flow diagram and help you understand the problem. This is a hard thing to remember. You know, I always worry. I teach a student NPV, and then 10 years later they go, "Oh, I remember NPV," but they forget that little thing. You got to start with period 1, and they make a mistake, right? But so it's very powerful, but you just got to know how it works. So anyway, if you like this video, like it. It'll encourage me to make more. And my picture will come up here. If you click on that picture, that'll subscribe you if you want to see more of my videos that come up. And I appreciate you watching. Oh, by the way, I guess I'll go ahead and put this file. I'll put a link to this file in the description down below. So if you want to look at it, you can do that. Thank you. Bye.